Around 8 a.m. on June 27th of 2018, I was home alone, got up as usual. I was drinking my coffee and I was talking to God, saying, God, what is the deal? Why is this so hard? I was in a holding pattern for what God had for us next in our life. And I prayed boldly, almost with a laugh, God, I need someone I've never met to call me out of the blue with a church lead, just so I know you haven't forgotten about me. At specifically 2:24 that afternoon, I got a text from an elder of Christ Church I had never met before that said, good afternoon, would love to talk to you about an opportunity here at Christ Church in Kingsland, Georgia. Could we have 5 minutes on the phone? So I Googled Kingsland, Georgia and began learning about Christ Church in a community called Camden County. And I began to learn that there was a small group of people who began meeting in 2007 and had grown to be a large church. And this church had a heart for their community and a vision to reach people for Jesus. Well, as we began to do more research, to pray, to continue to have conversations with the elders and even the staff, God was doing something in us. It was more than just, I think I could work here. I was starting to get a picture from God that something even more amazing than had already begun could happen in this community through this church. 5 weeks after that first conversation, my wife, Chris, and I came for a visit. And I'll never forget our first time in Camden having dinner at the Red Moose with the elders, spouses, and some of the staff. And after dinner, standing outside with the elders talking, dreaming a little bit, just saying things like, I believe God has something for us. We can do this. We can love and serve this community towards Jesus in a way that we can't yet imagine. A few years ago, I had read a book called The Tipping Point that suggests if you have a certain percentage of people moving in the same direction, you can experience massive shift. And I believed we could do that. But what if we tipped the county toward Jesus? Before we came to visit, I would watch services online, and I loved what was happening as far as I could tell, but my wife, Chris, and I would say, we need to get in that room and see what is happening. How are people responding? What is the atmosphere? How is God's Spirit working in people and in the church? My first Sunday here to visit, my wife and I were down on the side by the wall, about the third row or so. But there was a point in the worship that I walked to the back of the room so that I could see what was happening, pray over people, and people were worshiping their hearts out. And the Spirit of God was pressing on me in a way that overwhelmed me. You were in the middle of a series called The Best Is Yet to Come, and I was assigned to teach on John the Baptist.
Let me tell you this. I'm not going to talk about myself much. Can we just get to it today? I'm not going to evaluate you if you don't evaluate me. And let's just talk about what I think God has for us today. Can we do that? And if we never see each other again, then I have something I think God wants you to hear today. And Scott said, hey, you're going to do week 1 of the new series. So he didn't allow me to bring my very best stuff. So you're just getting regular stuff, okay? And so here we go. And I'll say this before we jump in too. This year, my wife and I have probably worshiped in 15 different churches. And I have not talked to her, but I know that she'll say the same thing. What we just experienced isn't happening a lot of places.
And the whole point of my message that day was that John was important, but he wasn't Jesus. His entire job was to point people to Jesus. And I just simply asked towards the end of my message, what if we did that? What if our entire mission was to shine a spotlight on Jesus? And what if a whole group of us did this, and before you know it, one life touches another life, that touches a neighborhood, that touches a city, that touches the county? That's what I want to give my life to. And I just want to shine a spotlight on Jesus. And then I asked this question. I said, I wonder if there's anyone else who wants to do that with me. Well, 5 weeks after that first visit, we packed up a U-Haul and drove it into Camden County on September the 1st of 2018. In 2019, we experienced some pretty significant growth around here. Things were shifting, there was momentum, and there was another level God had for us. We needed to respond to the new thing that God was doing among us. So I would sit with our elders and we would start to ask the question, what does God have for us, not just this year, but over several years? We started reading a book together called God Dreams and looking down the road to when Christ Church would turn 20 years old. What might we be able to accomplish with God's help in the year 2027? In the fall of 2019, we were on a staff retreat praying, planning, dreaming, and having the same conversations. What kind of church do we want to be a part of? What do we think God has for us? What are we for? Not just next year, but over several years. We had about 20 giant Post-it notes around the living room, and we started writing down everything. And we landed on 3 things that we wanted to be for. We wanted to be for Jesus, we wanted to be for each other, and we wanted to continue to be for Camden. We were ready to head into 2020 and roll it out, and we even made a banner that said that very thing. And then COVID hit, and we had to make some major pivots. We were working week to week, and it caused us to hit pause on the greater vision and mission. But that pause in the new world in which we saw in front of us was a bit of a gift. We needed more clarity on a master plan and couldn't wait for things to return to normal. So in August, we dove back in and invited someone to come here and help us try to make sense of it all. All of our elders, all of our staff spent 2 days in our elementary auditorium, once again, dreaming, planning, and praying. Over the last couple of months, we've continued to ask God for direction, and now we're walking into 2021, looking 6 years down the road with a God-sized dream for the 53,000 people of Camden County. And it's going to take all of us. But I believe with 100% of my heart and my soul that God wants us to leverage our passion for Camden to flip the spiritual climate of our community by equipping people to live on mission, where we live, work, study, and play, so that each of us could impact those in our circle of influence. We're going to say it this way: Christ Church is on a mission to lead the disconnected and the unfulfilled to find full life in Jesus. And we're going to do that by focusing on the things that we're for. We're for Jesus, we're for each other, and we're for Camden. I fully believe that God has so much more for this church because He has so much more for our community, and it's going to take all of us and more. And I'm asking once again this question: who wants to do that with me?